Justin Price's face drained of color as she set down her portfolio. "Good morning, Mr. Price," she said coolly. "I'm Daniela Walker, your new Chief Operating Officer. I believe we've met before." His coffee cup trembled in his hand. The boardroom fell silent as Daniela Walker stepped to the head of the table, the same table where her ex-husband once told his mother she was adequate for middle management, nothing more. She let the silence stretch, watching recognition and horror war across Justin's features. Those steel-gray eyes that once looked through her now couldn't look away. The other executives shifted uncomfortably. They knew her reputation, knew Price Industries had paid an astronomical sum to bring her back. What they didn't know was the history. "Ms. Walker," Richard Price Sr. spoke from his position at the opposite end of the table, a hint of satisfaction in his voice. "Welcome back to Price Industries. We're fortunate to have secured your expertise." Justin's jaw tightened. His father had orchestrated this without consulting him, and they both knew it. "Thank you, Mr. Price." Daniela opened her portfolio with practiced efficiency. "I've reviewed the third quarter reports. Shall we discuss why your innovation division has declined 42% in productivity since 2022? She watched Justin's knuckles whiten around his pen. He knew exactly when that decline started, 3 months after their divorce was finalized, when she walked away from the company she'd helped build. The meeting proceeded with clinical precision. She'd spent weeks preparing, and every observation she made landed like a surgical strike. The marketing strategy was outdated. The product pipeline had stagnated. Customer retention had dropped because Price Industries was no longer innovating. They were imitating competitors who were imitating what she'd built 3 years ago. "These are aggressive assessments," Justin finally said, his CEO voice firmly in place. But she heard the slight roughness beneath it, the stress he was trying to hide. "Price Industries remains a market leader." "You're surviving on reputation and legacy clients," Daniela countered, pulling up a presentation she'd prepared. "Your market share has eroded 17%. Sentinel Tech, where I spent the last 18 months, grew 43% in the same period. Would you like to know how?" The room waited. Justin's expression was unreadable, but that muscle in his jaw kept twitching, the tell she'd learned to recognize during their marriage, the one that meant he was barely holding his composure. "I implemented the same strategies I developed here," she continued, "the ones that were gathering dust in the archives because apparently they were too risky after I left. The AI integration protocol, the adaptive development framework, the customer co-creation model, all mine, all ignored." Ms. Walker, Marcus Wright, the new CFO, leaned forward with interest. "Are you suggesting we revisit these archived proposals?" "I'm suggesting we implement them immediately. You're 18 months behind competitors who are working with inferior versions of my frameworks. With proper execution, Price Industries could reclaim market dominance within 2 quarters. Richard Sr. smiled. Actually smiled. "This is exactly why we brought you back, Ms. Walker. Justin, I assume you'll give Ms. Walker full cooperation?" It wasn't really a question. Justin met her eyes for the first time since she'd entered the room, and something flickered there. Regret, anger, shame, she couldn't tell. Maybe all 3. "Of course," he said quietly. "Whatever Ms. Walker needs." The meeting continued for another 90 minutes. Daniela systematically dismantled every weak strategy, every missed opportunity, every place where Price Industries had lost its edge. And with each point, she watched Justin realize exactly how much she'd been carrying during their marriage, how much of the company's success had been built on her mind, while his mother convinced him she was just along for the ride. When they finally adjourned, the executives filed out with energized purpose. Marcus Wright stopped to shake her hand. "That was the wake-up call this company needed. Welcome aboard, Ms. Walker." "Thank you, Marcus." As the room emptied, Justin remained seated, staring at the presentation still displayed on the screen. Her innovation frameworks, dated from their marriage, stamped with archived status. She should have left, should have maintained the professional distance she'd promised herself. But 3 years of silence had stored up words she'd never gotten to say. "Did you know?" she asked quietly. "When you let your mother tell the board that your vision built the innovation division, did you know that was my work?" Justin's hand scraped across his face. When he looked up, there was something raw in his expression. Daniela, it's Ms. Walker. In this building, it's Ms. Walker. He flinched. I didn't... He stopped, started again. I knew. I told myself I'd correct it later, that it didn't matter who got credit as long as the work was good. I told myself a lot of things to avoid confronting my mother. You told yourself I was adequate for middle management. I never said that. You didn't contradict it. When your mother said it at the board dinner, when she smiled at me across the table like she'd just put me in my place, you looked down at your drink and said nothing. The memory still burned. Your silence said everything. Justin stood abruptly, and she instinctively took a step back. He noticed, and something like pain crossed his face. I'm not going to... He stopped. Daniela, I was a coward. I'm not going to insult you by making excuses, but I need you to know that I didn't understand what I was doing, what I was allowing. You understood perfectly. You just didn't care enough to stop it. The truth of that hung between them. Outside the glass walls, the Price Industries empire buzzed with activity. Activity that would now flow through her. She had the power here, the authority, the respect that should have been hers all along. Why did you come back? Justin asked. You were thriving at Sentinel Tech. You could have gone anywhere. She smiled, and it wasn't entirely kind. Your father made me an offer I couldn't refuse. COO with a clear path to CEO, full authority over innovation and strategy, and a salary that's triple what you paid me as director. That's not what I'm asking. I know what you're asking. She gathered her portfolio. You want to know if I came back for revenge, if I'm here to make you feel what you made me feel. Justin waited, something almost hopeful in his expression, like he wanted her to confirm it, wanted this to be about him mattering enough for vengeance. I came back because Price Industries was mine before it was ever yours. I built the foundation that made this company revolutionary, and I'm not going to let mediocrity destroy my legacy. You're just an unfortunate variable in that equation. She walked toward the door, but his voice stopped her. I dream about you. She turned slowly. Excuse me. Every night since you left, I dream about the moment at that board dinner. The moment I could have defended you, could have told my mother to shut her mouth and apologize. In the dreams, I do it. I stand up, and I choose you. His voice cracked slightly. And then I wake up and remember that I didn't, that I sat there and let her diminish you, and that you filed for divorce 6 weeks later. Her throat tightened, but she kept her voice steady. Dreams don't change reality, Justin. And reality is that I'm your superior now. I suggest you get used to it. She left him standing in that boardroom, surrounded by evidence of everything she'd built and everything he'd lost. Daniela's office was on the executive floor, 3 doors down from Justin's. The irony wasn't lost on her. She'd spent 3 years working 2 floors below while married to the CEO, never quite important enough for the executive suite. Now she had corner windows, a view of Elliott Bay, and an assistant who actually respected her authority. Ms. Walker, Sarah, her new assistant, poked her head in. I have your schedule for the week. Also, there are 17 meeting requests already, and it's only noon. Forward me the priority ones. Schedule the department heads for tomorrow morning. Including Mr. Price? Especially Mr. Price. He needs to understand the new reporting structure. Sarah smiled, a knowing smile that suggested the office gossip had already filled in her history. I'll make sure he's available. After she left, Daniela stood at her window, looking out over the city. Somewhere out there was her small apartment in Capitol Hill, the life she'd built after the divorce. Simple, quiet, safe. No one to diminish her, no one's family to navigate, no one's expectations to manage, while her own dreams were filed under adequate for middle management. Her phone buzzed. Jordan Hayes, her best friend and former colleague who'd quit Price Industries in solidarity when she left. Jordan. I heard. Please tell me you're making him suffer. Daniela. I'm making him work, Jordan. Not the same thing. That man let his mother steamroll you for 3 years, Daniela. I'm aware. I was there, Jordan. So make him pay, Danny. You have the power now. She set the phone down without responding. Revenge sounded satisfying in theory, but the reality was more complicated. Because standing in that boardroom, watching Justin's carefully constructed composure crack, she'd felt something she didn't want to feel. She'd felt the ghost of who they used to be before his mother's poison and his cowardice destroyed them. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and strategic planning. Marcus Wright turned out to be a valuable ally. He'd been brought in 6 months ago specifically to stabilize the financial hemorrhaging, and he was pragmatic enough to recognize that she was his best chance at success. "Your frameworks are brilliant," he told her over coffee in his office. "I've been trying to convince Justin to revisit them for months, but he seemed resistant, almost like they were painful to look at. They were created during my marriage. I imagine they're inconvenient reminders." Marcus studied her with sharp eyes. "The board knows you're Justin's ex-wife. Richard Sr. was quite open about it when he proposed bringing you on. He said, and I quote, 'My son let the best thing that ever happened to this company walk away because he couldn't stand up to his mother. Time to fix that mistake.'" Daniela nearly choked on her coffee. "Richard said that?" In front of the entire board, Victoria Price was present. She was not pleased. Victoria, Justin's mother. The woman who'd spent 3 years making sure Daniela knew she didn't belong in the Price family, that she was temporary, that someone of her background, single mother, worked her way through school, no prestigious family connections, would never be good enough for her son's legacy. "I imagine not," Daniela said carefully. "She's still on the board, minority shareholder but vocal. She'll try to undermine you." "Let her try. I have Richard's backing and the performance metrics to prove my value. Victoria's opinions are irrelevant." Marcus grinned. "I think I'm going to enjoy working with you, Ms. Walker." She stayed late that first day, reviewing files and building her implementation strategy. The building emptied around her, the buzz of activity fading to silence. Around 8 p.m. she stood to stretch, rolling her shoulders against the tension. That's when she noticed the light still on in Justin's office. She should have ignored it, should have packed her bag and gone home. But something drew her down the hall. Curiosity, or maybe the need to establish that she could move freely in this space that used to be forbidden territory. His door was slightly open. She knocked softly. "Come in." Justin sat behind his desk, surrounded by the same archived proposals she'd referenced that morning. He looked up and surprise flickered across his face. "Daniela, I thought you'd left hours ago." "Ms. Walker," she corrected automatically, then softened slightly. "And I could say the same about you. It's after 8. "I'm reading." He gestured to the documents. "Trying to understand what I missed, what I didn't see." She stepped into his office, maintaining professional distance. "You didn't miss it. You chose not to see it. There's a difference? Intent versus negligence. You tell me which is worse." Justin leaned back in his chair, and he looked tired, truly tired, in a way she remembered from the end of their marriage, when the cracks were already showing. "I don't know how to do this," he said quietly. "Work with you, see you every day and know what I destroyed. You learn, you compartmentalize, you act like the professional you're supposed to be. Is that what you're doing? Compartmentalizing?" She should have lied, should have maintained the ice-cold exterior she'd promised herself, but standing in his office in the late evening quiet, the truth slipped out. "I'm trying to. It's harder than I expected." Something shifted in Justin's expression. Hope, maybe, or recognition of shared difficulty. He stood, moving around his desk, and suddenly the space between them felt charged. "Daniela, don't," she held up a hand. "Whatever you're about to say, don't. We're not doing this. We're colleagues now, nothing more." "We were never just colleagues, even before we were married, even when you were just the brilliant director who transformed my company." "Your company. That's the problem right there. It was always your company, your legacy, your family business. I was just the employee who happened to warm your bed." "That's not fair." "Fair?" The word came out sharp. "You want to talk about fair? You stood by while your mother convinced the board that my innovations were your vision. You let her schedule my performance reviews and question my credentials. You allowed her to ask at every family dinner when I was going to give you an heir, as if my value was measured in potential grandchildren rather than the revenue I was generating." Justin's face had gone pale. "I didn't realize." "Yes, you did. You realized, and you chose her comfort over my dignity. Every single time." The silence stretched between them, heavy with 3 years of unspoken truth. "I'm in therapy," Justin said finally. Have been for 2 years, trying to understand why I couldn't stand up to her, why I let family expectations override everything else. I'm happy for you, truly. But your personal growth doesn't change our professional relationship. I know. He took a breath. But I need you to know that I'm not that man anymore. The one who let you be diminished. I won't let it happen again. You won't have the opportunity. I'm not someone who can be diminished now. I'm your superior, Justin. Your career is partly in my hands. Maybe that's the only way you'll learn to respect me. When I hold the power. She turned to leave, but his voice, low and almost broken, stopped her. I always respected you. That was never the problem. The problem was that I respected my mother's approval more. She looked back at him, this man she'd loved and left, and saw genuine regret in his eyes. But regret wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Good night, Mr. Price. I'll see you at tomorrow's meeting. She walked out before he could respond, her heels clicking against the marble floor. But she felt his eyes on her all the way to the elevator, and when the doors closed, she finally let out the breath she'd been holding. This was going to be so much harder than she'd anticipated. The elevator descended in smooth silence. She leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Coming back to Price Industries was supposed to be about reclaiming her professional legacy, about proving that she could command the respect she'd always deserved, about building something so undeniably successful that no one could ever question her worth again. She hadn't factored in how much it would hurt to see him every day, to remember who they were before his mother's poison and his weakness destroyed them, to feel that traitorous part of her heart that still responded to his voice, his presence, his gray eyes full of regret. The elevator chimed at the parking level. She stepped out, fishing for her keys, and nearly collided with someone coming from the stairwell. Ms. Walker. Victoria Price stood before her, immaculate in Chanel, her silver hair perfectly styled, her expression as cold as Daniela remembered. Mrs. Price. She kept her voice neutral. Working late? Ensuring my family's interests are protected. I heard about today's meeting. Her smile was razor sharp. Quite the performance. Richard always did have a weakness for aggressive women. I prefer competent women, but we can agree to disagree on terminology. Victoria's eyes hardened. Let me be clear, Daniela. I don't know what game you're playing coming back here, but you won't succeed. You didn't belong in this family then, and you don't belong in this company now. You're a temporary solution to a problem my son will solve once he remembers who he is. 3 years ago, those words would have cut deep, would have fed the insecurity that maybe she was right, maybe Daniela was reaching above her station, maybe she wasn't good enough for the Price family legacy. Now, they just made her tired. Mrs. Price, she said calmly, I'm not interested in your family. I'm interested in saving the company I helped build from the mediocrity it's fallen into. Your son is my subordinate, your opinion is irrelevant, and if you attempt to undermine my authority, I'll have you removed from the board. Richard Sr. gave me that power, and we both know he'll back me over you. Victoria's face flushed with anger. You presumptuous. Good night, Mrs. Price. Daniela walked past her to her car, her heart pounding but her steps steady. Behind her she heard Victoria's sharp intake of breath, the click of her heels as she turned away. Only when she was safely in her car, door locked, did she let herself shake. This wasn't just about business, this was war, and she'd just fired the opening shot. Daniela Walker came back to reclaim her legacy, but facing Justin Price every day is awakening feelings she thought were dead. When his mother confronts her in the parking garage, Daniela realizes she's fighting battles on multiple fronts. Can she maintain her professional armor, or will Justin's regret and his mother's hostility crack her carefully constructed walls? Chapter 2. Daniela's second week at Price Industries began with what Marcus Wright cheerfully called the corporate equivalent of shock therapy. She'd scheduled back-to-back meetings with every department head, systematically identifying inefficiencies and implementing rapid changes. The marketing team was restructured, the development pipeline was overhauled, the customer service protocols were rewritten, and through it all, she required Justin's presence. Not because she needed his input, but because she needed him to see exactly how much the company had deteriorated in her absence. This is aggressive, Jordan said over their weekly lunch at their favorite Thai place in Pioneer Square. even for you. The company is hemorrhaging market share. Aggressive is what they hired me for. Mm-hmm. And making Justin watch while you fix everything he broke? That's just a bonus? Daniela stabbed at her pad thai. He needs to understand what was lost, what he let slip away because he couldn't stand up to his mother. Jordan studied her with knowing eyes. You're using business as a proxy for the personal stuff. I'm doing my job. You're punishing him, which, for the record, he deserves. But be careful, Danny. Revenge can burn you just as badly as it burns him. She didn't respond, because Jordan was right and they both knew it. Every meeting where she demonstrated her expertise, every decision that highlighted his previous errors, every moment where the board looked to her instead of him. It was professional excellence, yes, but it was also vindication. Proof that she'd been the genius behind the curtain all along. The real test came with the Jaguar account. Jaguar Technologies was Price Industries' oldest client, a partnership that dated back to Justin's grandfather's era. They were also in the process of evaluating competitors for their next major project, a project worth $42 million and critical to Price Industries' quarterly projections. The presentation was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Justin had been cultivating the E-Bide-Up relationship for months, using his family connections and old boy network charm. He'd built the entire pitch around traditional approaches, safe strategies, the kind of conservative thinking that had worked for decades. Daniela read his proposal Tuesday evening and knew immediately it would fail. Wednesday morning, she walked into his office without knocking. Your Jaguar pitch is going to lose us the account. Justin looked up from his computer, irritation flashing across his face. Good morning to you too, Ms. Walker. The proposal's competent but uninspired. Jaguar's new CEO is 38 years old, Stanford MBA, with a track record of disrupting traditional partnerships. She's not looking for safe. She's looking for innovation that matches her vision. I've known the Jaguar leadership for 15 years. The old leadership. Sandra McCoy took over 6 months ago. Your relationship with her predecessor is irrelevant. Justin's jaw tightened. What are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting. I'm telling you that I'm presenting an alternative proposal tomorrow. The board approved it this morning. You went around me to the board? I went to the board with a superior strategy. They agreed. Marcus will send you the updated presentation within the hour. She turned to leave, but Justin's voice stopped her, sharp with frustration. Do you enjoy this? Undermining me at every turn? She looked back at him, this man who'd once held her heart and crushed it through inaction. I'm not undermining you, Justin. I'm doing my job. If you perceive that as a personal attack, perhaps you should examine why competent leadership feels like a threat. That's not... He stopped, visibly struggling for control. Daniela, we need to be able to work together. This antagonistic dynamic isn't sustainable. Then stop being antagonistic. Accept that I'm better at this than you, and let me do what your father hired me to do. Something flickered in his eyes, anger, hurt, maybe respect. You really have changed. No, I was always this good. You just couldn't see it through your mother's prejudices. The Jaguar presentation should have been a disaster. Justin and Daniela presenting competing visions, the client watching them navigate obvious tension, the whole thing feeling like a very expensive corporate therapy session. Instead, it was magic. Sandra McCoy, Jaguar's CEO, arrived with 3 executives and a reputation for eating traditional firms alive. She was sharp, direct, and clearly unimpressed with Price Industries' historical pedigree. Justin started with his pitch, polished, professional, safe. He emphasized legacy, stability, proven track records. It was a good presentation, just not good enough. Sandra's expression remained neutral throughout. No hostility, but no enthusiasm either. Thank you, Mr. Price, she said when he finished. I appreciate the thorough approach. However, I'm not seeing the innovation that would differentiate this partnership from what your competitors are offering. That was Daniela's cue. If I may, Ms. McCoy. She stood, activating her presentation. Mr. Price's proposal emphasizes what Price Industries has done. I'd like to show you what we can do. What followed was 45 minutes of strategic brilliance. She'd researched Jaguar's trajectory, studied Sandra's previous ventures, identified exactly what she needed before she'd fully articulated it herself. The proposal Daniela presented wasn't just innovative, it was revolutionary. AI integration that would transform their development cycle, adaptive frameworks that would scale with their aggressive growth projections, partnership structures that align success with theirs. And throughout the presentation, she felt Justin watching her, not with resentment, but with something that looked like awe. When she finished to thunderous applause, Sandra was leaning forward, her executives exchanging excited glances. "Now that," she said, "is what I came here to see. Ms. Walker, this is exceptional work." "Thank you. I believe Jaguar deserves a partner who matches your vision, not one who asks you to slow down for their comfort." Sandra smiled, genuine, impressed. "Mr. Price, you have quite the executive in Ms. Walker. If Price Industries can deliver what she's proposing, we have a deal." Justin stood, extending his hand. "We can deliver. Ms. Walker will lead the implementation personally." "Perfect." Sandra shook both their hands. "I look forward to working with you both." After the Jaguar team left, Justin and Daniela stood in the conference room, the energy of success still crackling in the air. "That was incredible," he said quietly. "The way you read Sandra, the way you structured the entire approach around her leadership style. I could never have done that." "I know," he laughed, short, almost bitter. "No false modesty. I appreciate that. There's no point in false modesty. I'm better at strategic innovation than you are. You're better at client relationships and long-term partnerships. We have complementary skills. We always did." His voice dropped lower. "When we were married, when we actually worked together instead of competing, we were unstoppable." The air between them shifted, became charged with something dangerous. She should have left, should have maintained the professional boundaries she'd promised herself. Instead, she met his eyes. "That was before you let your mother convince you I was just along for the ride." "I never believed that. Your actions suggested otherwise." "My actions were cowardly. There's a difference between belief and courage." Justin took a step closer. "Watching you in there, seeing you command that room, I remembered why I fell in love with you in the first place." Her breath caught. "Don't. Don't what? Don't acknowledge that we were good together, that we built something extraordinary before I destroyed it? Don't try to rewrite history. We weren't good together. We were good at business. The marriage was a slow catastrophe, enabled by your mother and your unwillingness to choose me over her approval." "You're right." Another step closer. "About all of it. But that doesn't change the fact that I have never stopped." "Mr. Price, Ms. Walker." Marcus Wright appeared in the doorway, tactfully pretending not to notice the tension. "Congratulations on the Jaguar account. The board wants an update in 30 minutes. The spell broke. Justin stepped back, professional mask sliding into place. "We'll be there," Daniela said, grateful for the interruption. Marcus left, but the charged atmosphere remained. "This conversation isn't over," Justin said. "Yes, it is. We're colleagues. That's all we can be." She gathered her materials and left before he could respond, but she felt his eyes on her all the way out the door. And worse, she felt that traitorous flutter in her chest, the one that remembered how his presence used to feel like home. The Jaguar win changed something at Price Industries. The board's faith in Daniela solidified. Department heads started bypassing Justin to bring proposals directly to her. In meetings, people looked to her for final decisions. Even when Justin was present, she was winning. Professionally, she was triumphant. So why did it feel hollow? "Because you're human," Jordan said when Daniela confessed this during their Thursday evening walk around Green Lake. "Because watching your ex-husband realize what he lost is less satisfying than you imagined." "I'm not trying to make him suffer. Aren't you?" "Come on, Danny. Every success is a reminder of what he gave up. Every time someone defers to you over him, he feels the reversal of power. You're systematically deconstructing his authority." "I'm doing my job." "You're doing your job brilliantly. But you're also enjoying the power dynamic a little too much, which, again, is understandable. But it's not making you happy." Daniela stopped walking, staring out over the lake. "He says he's changed, that he's in therapy, that he wouldn't let his mother control him now. Do you believe him?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me remembers every time he chose her over me and knows that patterns don't change easily. Jordan was quiet for a moment, then spoke carefully. What do you want, Danny? Really want? I want to not care. I want him to be just another colleague, another variable in my success equation. I want to not feel anything when he looks at me like... She stopped. Like what? Like he's drowning and I'm the only lifeline. Like losing me was the worst mistake of his life and he'd do anything to fix it. And why is that a problem? Because I can't trust it. Because wanting something doesn't mean you're capable of sustaining it. Because I won't survive being diminished again, Jordan. I built myself back up from nothing after our divorce. If I let him back in, and he reverts to the man who let his mother destroy us, then you leave again. But stronger this time because you already know you can survive it. Or I never let him close enough to hurt me again. That's an option too. But Danny? Jordan squeezed her shoulder. That's not living. That's just existing in protective armor, and you deserve more than that. Friday evening, Daniela stayed late finishing the Jaguar implementation plan. The building had emptied hours ago, leaving just the hum of climate control and the distant sounds of the city below. She was so focused on her work that she didn't hear him approach until he spoke. You're always here late. She looked up to find Justin leaning against her doorframe, tie loosened, jacket gone, looking more human than CEO. So are you, apparently. Can't seem to leave. Everything reminds me of when you worked here before, when we'd stay late together and order takeout and build strategies until midnight. That was a long time ago. 3 years. Feels like longer. He stepped into her office, uninvited but not unwelcome. We were happy then, weren't we? Before everything fell apart? We were successful. There's a difference. I was happy. I don't know if you were. The honesty in his voice made her pause. I was happy when we were working, when it was just us, building something extraordinary. I was less happy at family dinners where your mother questioned my credentials, or at board meetings where she took credit for my innovations, or at the charity gala where she introduced me as Justin's temporary interest. Justin's face tightened with pain. She said that. Among other things, you were in the bathroom. When you came back, I tried to tell you, but you said your mother meant well, and I should try to understand her perspective. God. He scrubbed his hands over his face. How did I not see it? How did I let her treat you that way? You saw it. You just prioritized her comfort over my dignity. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to hear it. I'm sorry for every moment I made you feel less than extraordinary. I'm sorry for every time I chose peace with my mother over protecting you. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. I'm sorry for losing you. The apology hung between them, raw and real. Part of Daniela wanted to throw it back in his face, to tell him sorry wasn't enough. But another part, the part that remembered loving him, remembered believing in them, softened slightly. Why are you telling me this now? Because I can't keep working with you, seeing you every day, knowing what I destroyed and not acknowledge it. Because you deserve to hear that you were right about everything. Because... He took a breath. Because I'm still in love with you, Daniela. I never stopped. Her heart stuttered. Justin, I know I don't have the right, that I burned that bridge spectacularly. But watching you these past 2 weeks, seeing you command this company the way you always should have, it's not just respect or admiration. It's everything. It's the same feeling I had when I first met you 6 years ago and you challenged every assumption I had about business and innovation and what was possible. This isn't, we can't, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you the truth, because I couldn't before, and that coward has cost us everything. He turned to leave, and she should have let him go. Should have maintained boundaries, protected herself, remembered all the reasons this was impossible. Instead, she heard herself speak. I'm not there yet. Where you are. I don't know if I'll ever be there again. Justin looked back, hope and pain mixing in his expression. But you're not saying never. I'm saying, I don't know. I'm saying this is complicated and messy and we're working together and your mother still hates me and I can't. She stopped, overwhelmed. I can't be hurt like that again, Justin. I won't survive it a second time. Then I won't hurt you. I'll prove it, Daniela. However long it takes. Words are easy. Actions are what matter. Then watch my actions. He left then, and she sat in her office, staring at nothing, feeling the careful walls she'd built start to crack. This was dangerous. This was exactly what she'd sworn she wouldn't do. But God help her. Part of her wanted to believe him. The weekend passed in a haze of overthinking. Daniela deep-cleaned her apartment, went for long runs, called her mother, and listened to her talk about her book club without really processing the words. Anything to avoid examining the feeling growing in her chest, the dangerous, reckless hope that maybe things could be different this time. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable sunshine and a sense of inevitability. She found a coffee on her desk when she arrived. Not just any coffee, her specific order from the Italian place 3 blocks away, the one she'd discovered during their marriage and loved despite the inconvenient distance. No note, just coffee, still hot, exactly the way she liked it. Tuesday there were fresh flowers, ranunculus in coral and pink, her favorite, the ones Justin used to bring home every week during their first year of marriage before things got complicated. Wednesday, she found a printed document on her desk, a formal letter to the board proposing a new reporting structure that would give her increased authority over strategic planning, explicitly positioning her above Justin in the innovation hierarchy. At the bottom, Justin's signature and a single line in his handwriting. You deserve the recognition you were always denied. He was doing what she'd demanded, proving change through actions, not words. It was working. Thursday afternoon, Daniela was reviewing quarterly projections when Victoria Price appeared at her door, fury radiating from her like heat. May I have a word, Ms. Walker? Mrs. Price, I'm quite busy. This won't take long. She closed the door behind her, and Daniela resisted the urge to stand defensively. She was the COO. This was her office. Victoria had no power here. I know what you're doing, Victoria said, voice tight with controlled anger. Worming your way back into my son's life, using your position here to manipulate him. I'm doing my job, Mrs. Price. If that threatens you, perhaps you should examine why. Don't play games with me, girl. You're not good enough for him. You weren't then, and you're not now. Your background, your family, your desperate social climbing. Stop! Daniela's voice came out cold, sharp. You don't get to talk to me that way anymore. I'm not the woman who sat silently through your insults, hoping to earn approval that was never coming. I'm the COO of this company. I have the board's full confidence, and your opinion is irrelevant. Victoria's face flushed. I will not be spoken to. You will be spoken to however I choose. This is my office, my company now more than it's yours. And if you continue to harass me, I'll have security escort you out. Justin would never. Justin reports to me now, Mrs. Price, and even if he didn't, he's finally learning to stand up to you. I'd suggest you get used to the new dynamic. Victoria stood, vibrating with fury. This isn't over. Yes, Mrs. Price, it is. After she left, Daniela sat at her desk, hands shaking slightly. Sarah appeared with coffee. Bless her. That looked intense, she said sympathetically. Family dynamics usually are. For what it's worth, everyone in the office is Team You. We all remember how brilliant you were before, and we're thrilled you're back. Even though I'm apparently sleeping with the CEO? Sarah grinned. Especially because of that. The romantic tension was killing us. The executive meeting that afternoon felt like walking into battle. Marcus, the department heads, Justin and Daniela, plus Richard Sr., who'd requested to attend this particular meeting. Victoria was notably absent, which either meant she was planning something or Richard had warned her to stay away. Before we discuss quarterly results, Justin began, Ms. Walker and I have an announcement. The room went quiet. Marcus tried and failed to hide a smile. Daniela and I are in a relationship, Justin continued. We recognize this complicates the professional dynamic, but we're committed to maintaining appropriate boundaries at work. Our personal partnership will not interfere with our professional responsibilities. Silence. Then Marcus started a slow clap, which turned into genuine applause from the rest of the room. Finally, Marcus said, we've been waiting for you two to figure yourselves out. You knew? Daniela asked. Everyone knew. The tension was obvious. We're just glad you're dealing with it. Richard Sr. cleared his throat. I appreciate the transparency. However, I want to ensure there are no conflicts of interest. Ms. Walker, you'll continue to report directly to me for performance reviews. Any Decisions involving Mr. Price's compensation or position will go through me. Are we clear? Crystal clear, Mr. Price. Good. Then congratulations to you both, and let's move on to actual business. The meeting proceeded normally, but Daniela felt lighter, unburdened by secrecy, supported by colleagues who genuinely wanted them to succeed. After everyone left, Richard Sr. lingered. Ms. Walker, a word? Of course. He waited until they were alone, then smiled, genuine warmth in the expression. I'm glad my son finally came to his senses. You're the best thing that ever happened to him, professionally and personally. I should have intervened 3 years ago when Victoria's behavior became problematic. Why didn't you? Family politics, misguided loyalty to my wife. The same cowardice Justin displayed, honestly. He sighed. But I'm intervening now. Victoria's board influence ends this quarter. I'm not removing her entirely, but she'll no longer have operational input. She can attend meetings, but her voting power is reduced to match her actual shareholding. That seems extreme. It's necessary. She's become a liability to the company and to my son's happiness. I won't allow it to continue. Justin stood up to her himself, multiple times. I know, I'm proud of him for that, but some battles require parental backup, and this is one of them. Richard stood, preparing to leave. Welcome back to the family, Daniela. For what it's worth, you always belonged here. After he left, Daniela sat alone in the conference room, processing everything. In the span of one day, she'd been attacked by Victoria, supported by colleagues, and welcomed back by Richard. The whiplash was exhausting. Her phone buzzed. Justin. Justin, how are you feeling? Daniela. Overwhelmed. Your mother came to my office this morning. Justin. What? Are you okay? What did she say? Daniela. The usual threats and insults. I handled it. Justin. I'm coming to your office. Daniela. Justin, I'm fine. Justin. I'm coming anyway. 3 minutes later, he appeared at her door, concern evident. Tell me what happened. She recounted the conversation, Victoria's threats, her insistence that Daniela wasn't good enough, her belief that Justin would eventually come to his senses. Justin's expression darkened with anger. That's unacceptable. I'm calling her right now. No, she caught his hand. Let me handle my own battles. I told her where things stand, and I meant it. Your job isn't to fight her for me. It's to stand beside me while I fight my own fights. But she can, and she did, and I survived it. Justin, I don't need you to protect me from your mother. I need you to keep choosing me over her. There's a difference. He took a breath, visibly calming himself. You're right. I'm sorry. Old instincts. What instincts? The need to fix things for you, to be the hero, when really you're the hero of your own story, and I'm just lucky enough to be part of it. Despite everything, she smiled. That's surprisingly evolved for a reformed mama's boy. Therapy is expensive, but effective. He pulled her close. Are you really okay? I am now. Your father helped. Dad? She told him about Richard's intervention, the reduction of Victoria's board power, the welcome back to the family. Justin's expression shifted through surprise, gratitude, and something like relief. He really did that? He really did. I think you have more allies than you realized. We have more allies. This isn't just my fight anymore. It's ours. Ours, she agreed. I like the sound of that. He kissed her, gentle, certain, a promise that they were building something stronger than what they'd had before. Want to get out of here? He asked. Celebrate surviving Monday? It's only 4 p.m. So, we're the COO and CEO. We can leave early if we want. That's an abuse of power. Consider it a strategic recharge for tomorrow's challenges. She laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. Fine, but you're buying dinner. Deal. They ended up at a quiet seafood place on the waterfront, watching the ferries cross Elliott Bay as the November sun set early. I never thought we'd be here again, Daniela admitted over Dungeness crab. When I left 3 years ago, I was so certain it was over forever. It should have been. I didn't deserve a second chance. No, you didn't, but you've earned one. There's a difference. Justin reached across the table, linking their fingers. I'm going to keep earning it, every day, for the rest of my life if you'll let me. That's a long time. Not long enough, her breath caught. Justin, I'm not proposing. Not yet. But Daniela, I need you to know that this isn't casual for me. This isn't, let's see how it goes. This is, I want forever, and I'll do whatever it takes to deserve it. That's terrifying. I know, but is it terrifying in a good way or a bad way? She considered, examining her feelings honestly. Good way. Mostly, with occasional panic. I'll take mostly good with occasional panic. They finished dinner as the city lights reflected on the dark water, talking about work and plans and the future they were tentatively building. When they left, Justin's car service drove them back to her apartment. Stay, she said when they pulled up. Not a question, an invitation. Are you sure? I'm sure. That night, they made love slowly, taking time to savor every touch, every moment. This wasn't desperate reunion or frantic rekindling. This was the deliberate choice of two people committing to building something lasting. Afterward, wrapped in each other in her small bedroom, Justin traced patterns on her shoulder. Move in with me, he said quietly. She went still. What? Move in, to my place, or we can find somewhere new together. But Daniela, I don't want to be 3 miles apart anymore. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. That's fast. We've known each other 6 years. We were married for 3. This isn't fast. It's overdue. Justin, I just got my independence back after the divorce. My own space, my own life. No one's expectations to manage. I'm not asking you to give that up. I'm asking you to share it with me. Your space, your life, your expectations, all of it as equals. No more his and hers, just ours. The offer was tempting, terrifying, but tempting. Let me think about it, she said finally. This is big. Take all the time you need. The offer stands whenever you're ready. Thank you. They fell asleep like that, the question hanging between them, not demanding an answer, just waiting for readiness. The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. Justin and Daniela worked together with seamless efficiency during the day, presenting a unified front to the company. Evenings were split between his place and hers, a gradual blending of lives that felt natural rather than forced. Victoria kept her distance, either processing her reduced board power or planning some counterattack. Either way, her absence was a relief. The company thrived. The Jaguar account implementation exceeded projections. 3 more major clients signed on. Industry publications started calling Price Industries a phoenix rising from the ashes and citing Daniela as the architect of the transformation. At Thanksgiving, Justin invited her to the family dinner. She almost declined. The thought of sitting through a meal with Victoria was exhausting, but he insisted. Time to establish new family dynamics, you and me, together, unambiguous. The dinner was exactly as awkward as anticipated. Victoria was icily polite, Richard Sr. was warmly welcoming, and Justin was unwavering in his public affection for Daniela. He held her hand at the table, introduced her as his partner without qualification, and shut down every one of his mother's passive-aggressive comments with firm, calm boundaries. Mother, Daniela is family now. If you can't accept that, you're welcome to leave. Victoria stayed, but her displeasure was palpable. After dinner, Richard Sr. pulled Daniela aside. You're good for him. He's finally becoming the man I always hoped he'd be. He's becoming the man he always was. He just needed to find the courage to show it. Whatever the cause, I'm grateful. Welcome to the family, Daniela. For real this time. Early December brought the final transformation. Justin appeared at her office one Wednesday afternoon, unusual nervousness evident. I need to show you something. He drove them to a neighborhood near Volunteer Park. Beautiful historic homes, tree-lined streets, the kind of area Daniela had always loved but thought was beyond her reach. Where are we going? You'll see. He pulled up to a gorgeous craftsman house, perfectly maintained with a wraparound porch and garden. Justin, before you panic, just come inside. The interior was stunning. Original woodwork, updated kitchen, home office spaces perfect for 2 high-powered executives who needed to work from home occasionally. And in the backyard, a studio space that could easily be converted to whatever she wanted: yoga room, art studio, private sanctuary. What is this? She asked. Ours, potentially, if you want it. He took her hand. I know you said you needed to think about moving in together, So I started looking for a place that would be ours, not mine, with you added in. A fresh start. Equal ownership, equal say in how we set it up, equal everything. You bought a house? I made an offer contingent on your approval. If you hate it, we'll keep looking. If you love it but aren't ready, I'll wait. But Daniela, I want to build a life with you. A real life, in a space that belongs to both of us. She walked through the house again, imagining their life here. Morning coffee on that porch, working in the home offices when the commute seemed too much, dinner parties with Jordan and Marcus, a future that felt real and possible and terrifying and perfect. It's beautiful, she said finally. Is that a yes? It's a I want to, but I'm scared. What are you scared of? That this is too good, that something will go wrong, that we're moving too fast and I'll lose everything again. Justin pulled her close. Or we're moving at exactly the right pace for people who already wasted 3 years. Daniela, I can't promise nothing will go wrong, but I can promise I'll be beside you when it does. I can promise I'll fight for us every single day. And I can promise that loving you is the surest thing I've ever known. She looked up at him, this man who'd broken her heart and spent months earning it back. Okay, she said. Okay? Okay, let's buy the house. Let's build a life together. Let's do this properly this time. His smile was incandescent. Really? Really? But Justin? If you hurt me again, I won't. I swear on everything I have, I won't. He kissed her there in their potential living room, sealing the promise with certainty and hope. Daniela and Justin have found their way back to each other, but the hardest tests are still ahead. With Victoria still scheming, the pressures of running a company together, and the weight of their painful history. Can they truly build something lasting? Chapter 3. The weekend after the parking garage kiss was torture for Daniela. Justin texted Saturday morning, "Coffee? No pressure. Just coffee?" She stared at her phone for 20 minutes before responding. "Need time to think. See you Monday." His reply came immediately. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." She spent Saturday cleaning obsessively, went for a 10-mile run on Sunday, and called her mother because she needed someone who'd known her before Justin, before Price Industries, before everything got complicated. "Baby girl," her mother said in her warm, familiar voice, "why do you sound like you're trying to outrun your own thoughts?" "I kissed Justin." Silence. Then, "The Justin? The one who let his mama walk all over you? That Justin?" "He's different now, Mom. He stood up to Victoria in front of the whole board. He's been in therapy. He says he's changed." "And you believe him?" "I want to. Is that foolish?" Her mother sighed. The sound of a woman who'd raised Daniela alone, who'd cleaned offices in buildings her daughter now commanded, who'd taught her that dignity mattered more than approval. "Here's what I know, Daniela. People can change, but change requires more than wanting to be different. It requires sustained action, uncomfortable growth, and the willingness to be someone new even when old patterns are easier. Can Justin Price do that? I don't know. But I know you're smart enough to protect yourself while you find out." "I'm scared, Mom." "Of course you are. He hurt you badly. But baby, you're not the same woman he divorced. You're stronger, more sure of yourself. If he hurts you again, you'll survive it. But if you don't give him the chance to prove himself, you'll always wonder what might have been." After they hung up, Daniela sat in her apartment's small living room, looking out over the city. Her mother was right. She was different now. The woman who'd accepted Victoria's microaggressions, who'd stayed silent during board meetings where her work was credited to others, who'd hoped that being perfect enough would earn approval. She didn't exist anymore. If Justin wanted her back, he'd be getting this version. Uncompromising, powerful, unwilling to settle. The question was whether he could handle it. Monday morning arrived with unseasonably warm weather and a crisis. "Sentinel Tech is poaching our developers," Marcus Wright announced at the emergency executive meeting. 3 senior engineers accepted offers over the weekend. 2 more considering. Daniela's former company, the place she'd gone after Price Industries, where she'd proven her value and built her reputation. "Why?" Richard Sr. demanded. Better compensation, more innovative projects, leadership they trust. Marcus looked uncomfortable. Apparently, there's a perception that Price Industries has become stagnant. That's unacceptable, Justin said. We need a retention plan immediately. Already working on it, Daniela replied. But the real issue isn't compensation, it's culture. Talented people want to work where they're valued and where innovation matters more than tradition. Victoria, present for this meeting as a board member, smiled coldly. Perhaps they preferred working with you at Sentinel, Ms. Walker. Maybe poaching our employees was part of your plan all along. The room froze. She was accusing Daniela of corporate espionage, of sabotaging Price Industries from within. That's absurd, Marcus said immediately. Ms. Walker has been focused entirely on, I can defend myself, Marcus. Daniela met Victoria's gaze evenly. Mrs. Price, if I wanted to damage this company, I wouldn't need to poach employees. I'd simply leave and take my innovations with me. The fact that I'm here, working to rebuild what was lost, should answer your conspiracy theories. Unless rebuilding is cover for... Mother? Justin's voice was sharp. That's enough. Ms. Walker's loyalty is beyond question. Your continued attacks are undermining board cohesion. Victoria's face flushed. I'm protecting family interests. No, you're protecting your ego. There's a difference. The tension in the room was suffocating. Richard Sr. cleared his throat diplomatically. Let's focus on solutions. Ms. Walker, what's your recommendation? We need to offer more than compensation. Equity stakes, clear advancement paths. Most importantly, we need to give them projects worth being excited about. She pulled up a presentation she'd prepared over the weekend. I propose fast-tracking the AI integration framework. It's cutting-edge work that will attract and retain top talent. That framework was rejected last year as too risky, Victoria objected. It was rejected because the leadership at the time didn't understand it. I do, and I can implement it successfully. The meeting continued for another hour, but Daniela's mind was only half present. The other half was focused on Victoria's attack and Justin's defense. He'd stood up to her again, publicly, without hesitation. He was proving himself. Consistently. After the meeting adjourned, Justin caught up with her in the hallway. I'm sorry about my mother. You don't need to apologize for her anymore. She's responsible for her own behavior. Still, I know she's making this harder than it needs to be. She stopped walking, turning to face him in the quiet corridor. Justin, she's always going to make things harder. The question is whether you'll let her. I won't. Not anymore. We'll see. Something in her tone made him pause. You don't believe me yet. I'm watching, reserving judgment. That's all I can offer right now. He nodded slowly. Fair enough. Want to grab lunch? Discuss the retention plan? Is that really what you want to discuss? A slight smile. No, I want to discuss us, the parking garage kiss, and whether there's any chance you'll let me take you to dinner. But I'm trying to respect boundaries. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Lunch? To discuss the retention plan, that's all. I'll take it. They ended up at a small sushi place near the waterfront, tucked into a corner booth where the lunch crowd wouldn't easily spot the CEO and COO of Price Industries sharing nigiri and complicated history. The retention plan needs to address more than compensation, Daniela said, keeping the conversation safely professional. People need to feel valued. Like you never did. So much for keeping it professional. This isn't about me, she said carefully. Everything about fixing this company is about you, about understanding what drove you away so we can make sure it doesn't happen again. With other talented people, she set down her chopsticks. Fine. You want the honest answer? People need to feel like their contributions matter, like they're seen and heard and appreciated for what they bring. Not just productivity, but perspective, innovation, the unique value they add. All the things I failed to recognize in you. We've established that already, Justin. Rehashing it doesn't help. No, but understanding it does. He leaned forward slightly. I've spent 2 years in therapy trying to figure out how I could be married to the most brilliant woman I'd ever met and still not see her clearly. Want to know what I learned? Do I have a choice? My mother raised me to value legacy over innovation, tradition over change. She taught me that the Price way was the right way, and anyone who challenged that was a threat. When you came along, so confident and revolutionary, questioning everything we'd always done. I was attracted to that rebelliousness, but I was also terrified of it. Terrified of me? Terrified of what choosing you meant. Choosing you meant choosing change. It meant acknowledging that my family's way might be limiting. It meant standing up to my mother and risking her approval. He met her eyes. I wasn't strong enough. Not then. But I am now. What changed? Losing you. Watching the company decline without your innovations. Realizing that my mother's approval meant nothing if it cost me everything that actually mattered. He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. I learned that love requires courage, and I finally found mine. Her throat tightened. Pretty words, Justin. Not words. Actions. I stood up to her in the board meeting. I defended you when she attacked. I'm here, risking your rejection, because I'd rather try and fail than never try at all. One board meeting doesn't erase 3 years of silence. I know. That's why I'll stand up to her again tomorrow, and the day after, and every day for the rest of my life, if that's what it takes to prove I've changed. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly. I need time, she said finally. I need to see sustained change, not just dramatic moments. You keep saying that, and I keep agreeing. Take all the time you need, Daniela. I'll be here, proving myself. The retention plan worked. Within 2 weeks, they'd stabilized the developer exodus and actually attracted 3 new hires from competitors. The AI integration framework became their flagship project, generating industry buzz and positioning Price Industries as an innovation leader again. The board noticed. More importantly, the industry noticed. But Victoria noticed too. She started showing up at the office more frequently, inserting herself into decisions that didn't require her input, questioning Daniela's strategies in passive-aggressive ways that never quite crossed into formal insubordination. Justin shut her down every time. Mother Ms. Walker doesn't need your approval for operational decisions. Ms. Walker's expertise speaks for itself. Your concerns are noted and disregarded. If you can't support the current leadership structure, perhaps you should reduce your board involvement. Each intervention was public, firm, and unambiguous. He was choosing Daniela over his mother consistently in ways that mattered. She was starting to believe. 3 weeks after the parking garage kiss, Price Industries received an invitation to present at Tech Vision Summit in New York, the industry's most prestigious conference, the keynote slot. Prime visibility for demonstrating their turnaround. You should present, Justin said when they met to discuss it. This is your strategy, your vision. We should present together, show united leadership. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, pleasure, hope. You want to present with me? It makes strategic sense, CEO and COO demonstrating partnership. Right, strategic. But his smile suggested he heard what she wasn't saying, that she was choosing to partner with him publicly in a way that signaled trust. The New York trip was scheduled for mid-November. 2 days at the conference, keynote presentation on day 1, networking and follow-up meetings on day 2. Marcus booked their travel. I reserved your usual hotel, Ms. Walker. Mr. Price will be at the plaza. Do you need... Book them in the same hotel, Justin said casually. Easier for coordination. Marcus's knowing smile suggested everyone in the office had figured out that something was developing between them. The night before they left for New York, Daniela stayed late finishing presentation revisions. Around 9 p.m., Justin appeared at her door with Thai food from their favorite place. Thought you might be hungry? She was. They ate at her desk, reviewing slides and debating strategy, falling into the easy collaboration that had always been their strength. Remember when we used to do this? Justin asked, gesturing at the scattered papers and laptops. Work late, order takeout, build something extraordinary? I remember you taking credit for it the next day. He winced. I deserved that. Yes, you did. For what it's worth, everyone knows this turnaround is yours. There's no ambiguity about who's driving our success. Because you've been explicit about giving me credit. I notice that. I notice you noticing. He smiled slightly. Are you keeping score? Constantly. Every time you stand up to your mother, every time you publicly acknowledge my contributions, every time you prove you've changed, I'm tracking it. And what's the current score? She considered. You're winning. Not definitively yet, but winning. His smile widened. I'll take it. They finished the presentation around 11. She should have sent him home, maintained boundaries, kept things professional. Instead, she heard herself say, "Want to watch a movie? Unwind before travel?" Justin's expression was carefully neutral, but she saw hope flicker in his eyes. Is that code for something? It's code for exactly what I said. A movie. On my couch, fully clothed, to relax before our trip. Then yes? Absolutely yes? They ended up at her apartment, the small Capitol Hill one-bedroom she'd rented after their divorce, a space that was entirely hers. Justin had never been here, and she watched him take it in, the books stacked everywhere, the plants crowding the windowsills, the single piece of art that her mother had painted. It's very you, he said softly. Peaceful, accomplished, independent. They settled on the couch with carefully maintained distance between them, Netflix cued to a mindless action movie neither of them really watched. I've missed this, Justin said after a while. Just being with you. No agenda, no performance, just us. We never really had just us. There was always your mother, your family expectations, the company politics. We had moments. Those first few months after we got engaged, before the family dynamics got complicated. Remember the weekend we stayed in bed and ordered room service and planned the innovation division? She did remember. Before Victoria's disapproval became obvious, before the microaggressions started, before she learned that marrying Justin meant accepting second place to his mother's preferences. That was before reality set in, she said, or before I let reality become an excuse for cowardice. He shifted slightly closer. I want that again, Daniela. Not the naive version where we ignored problems, but the real version where we face them together. That requires you to keep standing up to your mother, consistently, not just when I'm watching. I will. I am. He paused. She threatened to sell her shares last week, said if I didn't come to my senses about you, she'd divest entirely. She sat up. Justin? I told her to do it. Told her I'd rather lose her shares than lose you again. Her heart stuttered. You didn't mention this. Because it's not your burden to carry. My relationship with my mother is mine to fix, but I need you to know that I chose you, explicitly, irrevocably. The distance between them evaporated. She didn't know who moved first, but suddenly they were kissing again, deeper this time, more certain, 3 weeks of careful distance breaking under the weight of accumulated feeling. Daniela, he breathed against her lips, tell me to stop if this isn't what you want. I don't want you to stop. His hands tangled in her hair, her fingers gripped his shoulders, and they lost themselves in the kind of kiss that rewrites history, that says maybe, just maybe, broken things can be repaired. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Justin rested his forehead against hers. Come to New York with me, not just for the conference, for us. We're already going together. You know what I mean. She did. He was asking for more than professional. Partnership. He was asking for a chance to rebuild what they'd lost. One step at a time, Justin. Let's get through the presentation first. And after? Can we talk about after? After, we'll see where we are. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. And the hope in his expression suggested that was enough. The flight to New York was surprisingly comfortable. Business class, side-by-side seats, the kind of proximity that felt both professional and intimate. Justin worked on his laptop while Daniela reviewed notes, their arms occasionally brushing in the shared space. Nervous? He asked as they began their descent. About the presentation? No. About everything else? Yes. He reached over, covering her hand with his. We've got this. The presentation, the conference, all of it. That's not what I'm nervous about. His thumb traced circles on her palm. What are you nervous about? That this is moving too fast. That I'm letting hope override caution. That history will repeat itself. It won't. I won't let it. You can't promise that. Watch me. They landed at JFK in late afternoon, the November sky already dimming toward evening. The hotel, the boutique place near Central Park that Daniela had always preferred, had their rooms on the same floor. Not deliberate, according to Marcus's booking, but the universe seemed to have opinions about their proximity. "Dinner?" Justin asked as they checked in. "There's that Italian place you love in the West Village. You remember that?" "I remember everything about you, Daniela. I just stopped showing it." They ended up at the restaurant as the city buzzed with evening energy around them. The wine was excellent, the pasta better, and the conversation flowed with the ease of two people who'd once known each other completely and were learning to know each other again. "Tell me something," Justin said over tiramisu. "If we could start over, completely over, first meeting, no history, would you choose me?" "That's not fair. We are our history." "Humor me." She considered, weighing honesty against self-protection. "I don't know. The man you are now? Maybe. The man you were then? No. I deserved better than what you gave me." "You did. You do." He set down his fork. "I'm trying to be that man, the one who deserves you. I know. I see it. But you're still scared. Terrified. Of me. Of myself. Of wanting this too much. Of believing you've changed and discovering I was wrong." Justin paid the check, insisted on it despite her protests, and they walked back to the hotel through the cold November evening. The city was alive around them, but Daniela was acutely aware of him beside her, the occasional brush of his hand against hers, the way he positioned himself between her and the street traffic. Small gestures, the kind that showed care without demanding recognition. At the hotel, they stood in the elevator as it climbed toward their floor, the silence charged with possibility. "I should get some rest," she said, though she didn't want to. "Big day tomorrow." "Right. Rest. Very important." But he was looking at her like rest was the last thing on his mind. The elevator opened on their floor. Their rooms were 3 doors apart, close enough to be convenient for coordination, far enough to maintain plausible deniability. "Good night, Daniela." "Good night, Justin." She made it to her room, made it inside, made it approximately 30 seconds before she heard the knock. He stood in the hallway, tie loosened, jacket gone, looking uncertain and hopeful and desperate all at once. "I can't do this," he said. "Can't do what?" "Pretend. Act like being 3 doors away from you isn't torture, like I don't want to spend every moment with you." He stepped closer. "Tell me to leave. Tell me you need space, and I'll go." "But Daniela, if there's any chance..." She pulled him inside and kissed him. They barely made it past the door. 3 weeks of careful distance, 3 years of unresolved emotion, 6 years of history. All of it poured into that kiss. His hands in her hair, her fingers working his shirt buttons, stumbling toward the bed with the desperation of people who'd been starving and finally found sustenance. "Wait," she gasped, pulling back. "We should talk about this, about what it means. It means I love you. It means I want you. It means I'm never letting you go again." "Justin, no more waiting. No more proving myself from a distance. I need you to know..." His voice cracked with emotion. "I need you to know that you're everything. You always were. I was just too blind and too weak to see it clearly." She cupped his face with both hands, looking into those gray eyes that had once looked through her and now saw nothing but her. "If we do this," she said carefully, "if I let you all the way back in, you have to understand that I'm different now, stronger, less willing to compromise. I won't be diminished again, not for anyone. I don't want you to be. The woman you are now, powerful and uncompromising and absolutely in command, that's who I love. That's who I should have fought for the first time. Your mother will never accept us. I don't need her to. I need you to. That's all that matters." The honesty in his voice undid the last of her resistance. "I'm still scared." "Me too. Scared of losing you again. Scared I don't deserve this second chance, but I'm more scared of not trying." She kissed him again, softer this time, less desperate and more certain. "Then don't leave. Stay." "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm tired of being sure. I'm tired of being careful. I just want..." Her voice broke. "I just want to feel loved the way I should have felt loved all along. Then let me love you, the way you deserve, the way I should have from the beginning." What happened next was tender and passionate and healing all at once. He touched her like she was precious, like he'd been given something sacred, and refused to take it for granted. Every kiss was an apology, every caress a promise, every whispered word a vow that this time would be different. They made love slowly, taking time to relearn each other's bodies, to remember and rediscover. The physical connection was familiar but transformed, enhanced by the knowledge of what they'd lost and what they were reclaiming. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the hotel room darkness, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her shoulder. "I forgot how perfectly you fit," he murmured, "how right this feels. We were always good at this part. It was everything else that fell apart. Not this time. This time I'll protect us, protect you." "I don't need protection, Justin. I need partnership, equality, a man who stands beside me, not in front of me." "Then that's what I'll be." She rolled over to face him, needing to see his eyes. "If we do this, if we really try again, we need rules, boundaries, agreements about how we'll handle your mother, about our professional relationship, about what happens if things get difficult. Whatever you need. I need honesty, complete transparency, no more protecting me from uncomfortable truths. Done. I need you to keep standing up to your mother, not just in dramatic moments, but consistently, even when I'm not there to see it. Already doing that. And I need us to be equals in everything. No more of me building your success while you get the credit. The entire industry knows this turnaround is yours. There's no ambiguity about who the genius is in this partnership." She smiled despite herself. "Flattery won't distract me from setting boundaries." "It's not flattery, it's fact." He kissed her forehead. "What else do you need?" "Time. I need us to take this slowly, to rebuild trust before we make any big decisions." "How slowly?" "I don't know yet. Slowly enough that I feel secure, fast enough that we don't lose momentum." "That's beautifully vague." "It's the best I can offer right now." "Then I'll take it." He pulled her closer. "Daniela?" "Thank you for giving me another chance. I won't waste it." "You'd better not. Because if you break my heart again, I'll destroy you professionally and personally." He laughed, genuine, delighted. "That's the woman I love. Brilliant and absolutely terrifying." "Don't forget it." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, the New York night humming beyond the windows. And for the first time in 3 years, Daniela felt something close to peace. Morning came too early. They had 4 hours before the keynote presentation, and reality was crashing back in. "We should talk about this," Daniela said, watching Justin button his shirt, the same shirt she'd unbuttoned so frantically the night before. "Talk about what? The fact that we're back together?" "Are we? Back together?" He paused, meeting her eyes. "Aren't we?" "I don't know. We slept together. That doesn't automatically mean, Daniela." He crossed to where she sat on the bed, kneeling so they were eye level. "Last night wasn't just sex. It was us choosing each other, choosing to try again. If that's not what it meant to you." "It meant that. She took a breath. "I need us to be smart about this. We work together. We have a major presentation in 3 hours. Your mother's going to be nuclear when she finds out. Let her be nuclear. This is my life, my choice." Easy to say now, harder when she's actively trying to sabotage me. "She can't sabotage you. You're too good, too essential. The board knows it, the industry knows it, and deep down, she knows it too. You have more faith and rationality than I do." Justin cupped her face gently. "I have faith in us, in what we're building together. Everything else is just noise." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. "Okay," she said finally. "We try this, for real. But Justin, if you revert, if I see any sign of the old patterns, the old cowardice, you'll leave. I know. I won't let it happen. Promise me." "I promise. On everything that matters, I promise." He kissed her, soft, certain, a seal on the vow. Then they separated to their respective rooms to prepare for the presentation that would either cement Price Industries' comeback or expose the cracks they were still trying to repair. The Tech Vision Summit keynote was scheduled for 10 a.m. in the Plaza's Grand Ballroom. By 9:30, the room was packed, over 800 industry professionals, journalists, and competitors, all waiting to see if Price Industries could deliver on the buzz their turnaround had generated. Backstage, Justin and Daniela did final prep. They'd rehearsed this presentation dozens of times, knew every transition, every data point, every moment where one of them would take the lead from the other. "Ready?" he asked. "Always?" "Nervous?" "Never," he smiled. "Liar. Your left hand does that thing when you're nervous." He gestured to where she was unconsciously tapping her finger against her thigh. "Observant. I notice everything about you now. I'm making up for lost time." The stage manager appeared. "5 minutes, Mr. Price, Ms. Walker." Justin squeezed her hand. "Whatever happens out there, we've got this. Together." Together, she agreed. And they did have it. From the moment they walked on stage, the presentation was flawless. Justin opened with the compelling narrative, Price Industries' history, its recent struggles, the decision to bring back the visionary who'd built their innovation division. Then, Daniela took over with the strategy, the data, the vision for the future. They traded off smoothly, each highlighting the other's contributions, demonstrating the partnership that had always been their greatest strength. When Justin talked about the AI integration framework, he explicitly credited her design. When she discussed client retention, she acknowledged his relationship-building skills. It was honest. It was powerful. It was everything they should have been 3 years ago. The audience was captivated. She could see it in their faces. The interest, the excitement, the recognition that Price Industries wasn't just back. It was revolutionary. When they finished to thunderous applause, Justin turned to her on stage and said something that wasn't in the script. "None of this would be possible without Daniela Walker. She's not just the COO of Price Industries. She's the visionary who built our foundation, the strategist who's driving our future, and the most brilliant mind I've ever had the privilege of working with." The applause intensified. And in that moment, in front of 800 industry professionals, Justin gave her something she'd never had during their marriage: full, public, unambiguous recognition. Backstage afterward, they were mobbed with congratulations and business cards. Competitors wanted to poach them, investors wanted meetings, journalists wanted interviews. Marcus Wright appeared, grinning widely. "That was perfect. The board is ecstatic. Social media is blowing up. You two are officially the power couple of tech innovation." "We're not a couple," Daniela said automatically. Justin's hand found hers. "Aren't we?" She looked at him. At this man who'd just given her everything she'd ever wanted professionally, who'd stood beside her as an equal, who'd publicly acknowledged her worth without diminishment. "I suppose we are," she said softly. His smile was radiant. "Good. 'Cause I'd really like to kiss you right now, but I wasn't sure about the public declaration policy." "In front of 800 people? Probably inadvisable." "What about in front of one very nosy CFO?" "That's acceptable." He kissed her, brief but certain, a declaration and a promise. Marcus made a pleased sound and tactfully disappeared. "This is going to complicate things," she murmured against Justin's lips. "The best things usually do." "Your mother's going to lose her mind." "Good. It's time she learned the world doesn't revolve around her preferences." She pulled back to study his face. "You really mean that?" "I really do. Daniela, I told you, I'm done choosing her over you. Done letting family politics control my life. If she can't accept us, that's her problem, not ours. And if she makes it our problem, then we handle it together, as equals, as partners." The certainty in his voice soothed something in her that had been anxious for weeks. Maybe, just maybe, this really was different. The rest of the conference was a whirlwind. Meetings with potential clients, networking with industry leaders, interviews with tech journalists who were fascinated by the Price Industries' turnaround story. Through it all, Justin and Daniela operated as a seamless unit, professional in public, increasingly open about their rekindled relationship in private. That evening, they had dinner with Marcus and 2 potential investor groups. The conversations flowed easily, and Daniela noticed how Justin consistently brought the focus back to her innovations, her strategies, her vision. He wasn't diminishing his own role, but he wasn't claiming hers either. It was the partnership she'd always wanted. After dinner, Marcus pulled her aside. "You two seem different. Good different. We're figuring things out. The whole office has been taking bets on when you'd get back together. I'm winning, by the way, I said before Thanksgiving. The whole office is betting on my personal life? With great affection and enthusiasm, you have no idea how many people are rooting for you too. He smiled. We all saw what you built together before. We're hoping you can do it again. No pressure. All the pressure, but good pressure, the kind that pushes you toward something better. Back at the hotel, Justin and Daniela ended up in her room again, a pattern she was beginning to accept as inevitable. I don't want to go back, she admitted, curled against his chest. New York feels like a bubble. Reality seems far away. Reality is you and me, working together, building something extraordinary. It doesn't change when we get home. Your mother changes it. Only if I let her, which I won't. You say that now, Daniela. He shifted so he could look at her directly. I understand why you're skeptical. I've given you every reason to doubt me. But I need you to hear this. I'm not the man I was 3 years ago. Therapy, losing you, watching the company decline, it changed me fundamentally. I will stand up to my mother. I will protect us. I will be the partner you deserve. And if it's harder than you think, if she threatens, manipulates, makes everything difficult, then it's hard. But we handle it together. She wanted to argue, to point out all the ways this could go wrong, but the conviction in his eyes stopped her. Okay, she said quietly. I believe you. Yeah? Yeah, but Justin? If I'm wrong, if you revert to old patterns, I will leave, for good this time. No second chances, no redemption arc, just done. Understood. And it won't happen. It better not. He kissed her, and the conversation dissolved into something more immediate, more physical. They made love with the windows open to the November night, the city lights painting patterns across the hotel room walls. Afterward, drowsy and content, she felt Justin's hand find hers in the darkness. I love you, he murmured, in case I haven't said it enough. You've said it. I'm just not sure I've said it back. He went still. You don't have to. Not until you're ready. I know, but Justin, I'm getting there. Closer every day. That's enough. More than enough. They fell asleep like that, hands linked, the future feeling possible for the first time in years. The flight home Saturday afternoon should have been relaxed. They'd crushed the presentation, secured 3 major client meetings, and generated enough industry buzz to carry Price Industries for months. Instead, Daniela felt the anxiety building as Seattle grew closer. She knows, she said, staring out the airplane window. Your mother. She's going to know. Let her know. That's easy to say at 30,000 feet. Justin set down his laptop, giving her his full attention. What are you afraid of? Specifically. That she'll make work impossible, that she'll poison the board against me, that she'll find some way to force you to choose between us, and this time there won't be a clear answer. There's always a clear answer. You. Always you. You couldn't say that 3 years ago. I was a coward 3 years ago. I'm not anymore. She wanted to believe him. The past few weeks had shown consistent change. The board meeting defense, the public recognition, the way he'd stood up to Victoria repeatedly. But fear was harder to shake than doubt. I need you to understand something, she said carefully. If this falls apart, if we try and fail, I'll lose more than a relationship. I'll lose my professional credibility, my authority at the company, maybe my position entirely. People will say I let personal feelings compromise my judgment. That won't happen. You can't guarantee that. You're right. I can't. He took her hand. But I can guarantee that I'll fight for us every single day, that I'll be public and unambiguous about choosing you, that I'll make it impossible for anyone, including my mother, to pretend this is temporary or illegitimate. How? He smiled, slightly nervous, slightly determined. You'll see. They landed at SeaTac Sunday evening to gray skies and drizzle, typical Seattle welcoming them back to reality. Justin's driver took them both back to the city, dropping Daniela at her apartment first. Tomorrow, he said as she gathered her bag, we tell people, officially, no more ambiguity. Tell people what, exactly? That we're together, that this is serious, that Price Industries' leadership team is also a romantic partnership. That's going to cause problems. Probably. But I'd rather handle problems with you than hide what we are. He kissed her goodbye, gentle, certain, a promise of more to come. She watched his car pull away, then headed inside, feeling the weight of Monday approaching. Her phone buzzed. Jordan. Jordan. I saw the keynote video. You two looked cozy. Spill. Daniela. We're trying again. Jordan. What? When? How? Why didn't you call me immediately? Daniela. It's new and complicated, and I'm terrified. Jordan. Can I come over? I'm bringing wine and judgment-free support. Daniela. Yes, please. An hour later, Jordan sat on her couch, wine glass in hand, listening to the whole story. The parking garage kiss, the New York trip, the rekindling of everything she'd tried to bury. So let me get this straight, Jordan said. You're back together with the man who let his mother steamroll you for 3 years, and you think this time will be different because he's proven it. Consistently. He stood up to her. In front of the board, he gave me full credit in our keynote. He told her to sell her shares when she threatened to divest over us. Jordan's eyebrows rose. He did that? He did. Okay, that's actually significant. Jordan sipped wine thoughtfully. People can change, Danny. It's rare, but it happens. Usually requires hitting rock bottom and doing the hard work of growth. He's been in therapy for 2 years. Even better. Look, I was there for the divorce. I saw what it did to you, so I'm going to be cautiously optimistic while remaining ready to help you hide the body if he hurts you again. She laughed despite herself. Fair enough. But Danny, if he really has changed, if he's really showing up as the partner you deserve, don't let fear rob you of something good. You're allowed to be happy, even with your ex-husband. When did you become wise? I've always been wise. You're just usually too stubborn to listen. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable sunshine and a sense of inevitability. Justin and Daniela had agreed to arrive separately, maintain professionalism through the morning, then address their relationship at the afternoon executive meeting. She was in her office reviewing quarterly projections when Sarah buzzed. Ms. Walker, Mrs. Victoria Price is here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's quite insistent. Her stomach tightened. Send her in. Victoria swept into her office like she owned it, designer suit, perfect hair, expression carved from ice. Ms. Walker, I believe we need to have a conversation. If this is about business matters, you should schedule through proper channels. This is about my son. She closed the door with deliberate care. I know you've wormed your way back into his life. I saw the keynote video, the way he looked at you, the way you've manipulated him into humiliating himself publicly. I haven't manipulated anyone. Justin makes his own choices. Choices you've influenced, poisoned him against his own mother, convinced him that I'm the enemy. You did that yourself, Mrs. Price. You spent 3 years ensuring I knew I wasn't good enough for your family. You took credit for my work, questioned my credentials, made family dinners an exercise in passive-aggressive warfare. Justin is finally seeing that clearly. Victoria's face flushed with anger. You think you've won, that you can waltz back here, seduce my son, and reclaim some fantasy of what your marriage was. But let me be clear. You will never be part of this family. You will never be good enough for the Price legacy. And sooner or later, Justin will remember that and send you back where you belong. 3 years ago, those words would have shattered her. Now, they just made her sad. Sad for this woman who measured worth in bloodlines and traditions, who couldn't see value in innovation or growth or change. Mrs. Price, Daniela said calmly, I don't need your approval. I don't need to be part of your family. I need to do my job excellently, and I need Justin to be the partner he promised to be. Everything else is irrelevant. My son is not irrelevant. Your son is a grown man capable of making his own decisions. If you keep trying to control him, you'll lose him entirely. Is that a threat? It's an observation. Justin has spent 2 years learning to set boundaries. He's not going to sacrifice his happiness for your comfort anymore. Victoria stood, vibrating with fury. This isn't over. Yes, Mrs. Price, it is. After she left, Daniela sat at her desk, hands shaking slightly. Sarah appeared with coffee. Bless her. That looked intense, she said sympathetically. Family dynamics usually are. For what it's worth, everyone in the office is Team You. We all remember how brilliant you were before, and we're thrilled you're back. Even though I'm apparently sleeping with the CEO, Sarah grinned, especially because of that. The romantic tension was killing us. The executive meeting that afternoon felt like walking into battle. Marcus, the department heads, Justin and Daniela, plus Richard Sr., who'd requested to attend this particular meeting. Victoria was notably absent, which either meant she was planning something or Richard had warned her to stay away. "Before we discuss quarterly results," Justin began, "Ms. Walker and I have an announcement." The room went quiet. Marcus tried and failed to hide a smile. "Daniela and I are in a relationship," Justin continued. "We recognize this complicates the professional dynamic, but we're committed to maintaining appropriate boundaries at work. Our personal partnership will not interfere with our professional responsibilities." Silence. Then, Marcus started a slow clap, which turned into genuine applause from the rest of the room. "Finally," Marcus said, "we've been waiting for you two to figure yourselves out." "You knew?" Daniela asked. "Everyone knew. The tension was obvious. We're just glad you're dealing with it." Richard Sr. cleared his throat. "I appreciate the transparency. However, I want to ensure there are no conflicts of interest. Ms. Walker, you'll continue to report directly to me for performance reviews. Any decisions involving Mr. Price's compensation or position will go through me. Are we clear?" "Crystal clear, Mr. Price." "Good. Then congratulations to you both, and let's move on to actual business." The meeting proceeded normally, but Daniela felt lighter, unburdened by secrecy, supported by colleagues who genuinely wanted them to succeed. After everyone left, Richard Sr. lingered. "Ms. Walker, a word?" "Of course." He waited until they were alone, then smiled, genuine warmth in the expression. "I'm glad my son finally came to his senses. You're the best thing that ever happened to him, professionally and personally. I should have intervened 3 years ago when Victoria's behavior became problematic." "Why didn't you?" "Family politics, misguided loyalty to my wife. The same cowardice Justin displayed, honestly." He sighed. "But I'm intervening now. Victoria's board influence ends this quarter. I'm not removing her entirely, but she'll no longer have operational input. She can attend meetings, but her voting power is reduced to match her actual shareholding. That seems extreme. It's necessary. She's become a liability to the company and to my son's happiness. I won't allow it to continue." Justin stood up to her himself, multiple times. "I know, I'm proud of him for that, but some battles require parental backup, and this is one of them." Richard stood, preparing to leave. "Welcome back to the family, Daniela. For what it's worth, you always belonged here." After he left, she sat alone in the conference room, processing everything. In the span of one day, she'd been attacked by Victoria, supported by colleagues, and welcomed back by Richard. The whiplash was exhausting. Her phone buzzed. "Justin. Justin. How are you feeling?" Daniela. "Overwhelmed. Your mother came to my office this morning." Justin. "What? Are you okay? What did she say?" Daniela. "The usual threats and insults. I handled it." Justin. "I'm coming to your office." Daniela. "Justin, I'm fine." Justin. "I'm coming anyway." 3 minutes later, he appeared at her door, concern evident. "Tell me what happened." She recounted the conversation, Victoria's threats, her insistence that Daniela wasn't good enough, her belief that Justin would eventually come to his senses. Justin's expression darkened with anger. "That's unacceptable. I'm calling her right now." "No," she caught his hand. "Let me handle my own battles. I told her where things stand, and I meant it. Your job isn't to fight her for me. It's to stand beside me while I fight my own fights." "But she can't." "She can, and she did, and I survived it. Justin, I don't need you to protect me from your mother. I need you to keep choosing me over her. There's a difference." He took a breath, visibly calming himself. "You're right. I'm sorry. Old instincts." "What instincts?" "The need to fix things for you, to be the hero, when really you're the hero of your own story, and I'm just lucky enough to be part of it." Despite everything, she smiled. "That's surprisingly evolved for a reformed mama's boy. Therapy is expensive, but effective." He pulled her close. "Are you really okay?" "I am now. Your father helped." "Dad?" She told him about Richard's intervention, the reduction of Victoria's board power, the welcome back to the family. Justin's expression shifted through surprise, gratitude, and something like relief. "He really did that. He really did." I think you have more allies than you realized. We have more allies. This isn't just my fight anymore. It's ours. Ours, she agreed. I like the sound of that. He kissed her, gentle, certain, a promise that they were building something stronger than what they'd had before. Want to get out of here? He asked. Celebrate surviving. Monday? It's only 4 p.m. So, we're the COO and CEO. We can leave early if we want. That's an abuse of power. Consider it a strategic recharge for tomorrow's challenges. She laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. Fine, but you're buying dinner. Deal. They ended up at a quiet seafood place on the waterfront, watching the ferries cross Elliott Bay as the November sun set early. I never thought we'd be here again, Daniela admitted over Dungeness crab. When I left 3 years ago, I was so certain it was over forever. It should have been. I didn't deserve a second chance. No, you didn't, but you've earned one. There's a difference. Justin reached across the table, linking their fingers. I'm going to keep earning it, every day for the rest of my life if you'll let me. That's a long time. Not long enough, her breath caught. Justin, I'm not proposing, not yet. But Daniela, I need you to know that this isn't casual for me. This isn't, let's see how it goes. This is, I want forever, and I'll do whatever it takes to deserve it. That's terrifying. I know, but is it terrifying in a good way or a bad way? She considered, examining her feelings honestly. Good way. Mostly. With occasional panic. I'll take mostly good with occasional panic. They finished dinner as the city lights reflected on the dark water, talking about work and plans and the future they were tentatively building. When they left, Justin's car service drove them back to her apartment. Stay, she said when they pulled up. Not a question, an invitation. Are you sure? I'm sure. That night they made love slowly, taking time to savor every touch, every moment. This wasn't desperate reunion or frantic rekindling. This was the deliberate choice of two people committing to building something lasting. Afterward, wrapped in each other in her small bedroom, Justin traced patterns on her shoulder. Move in with me, he said quietly. She went still. What? Move in, to my place, or we can find somewhere new together. But Daniela, I don't want to be 3 miles apart anymore. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. That's fast? We've known each other 6 years. We were married for 3. This isn't fast. It's overdue. Justin, I just got my independence back after the divorce. My own space, my own life. No one's expectations to manage. I'm not asking you to give that up. I'm asking you to share it with me. Your space, your life, your expectations, all of it as equals. No more his and hers, just ours. The offer was tempting, terrifying, but tempting. Let me think about it, she said finally. This is big. Take all the time you need. The offer stands whenever you're ready. Thank you. They fell asleep like that, the question hanging between them, not demanding an answer, just waiting for readiness. The next few weeks fell into a new rhythm. Justin and Daniela worked together with seamless efficiency during the day, presenting a unified front to the company. Evenings were split between his place and hers, a gradual blending of lives that felt natural rather than forced. Victoria kept her distance, either processing her reduced board power or planning some counterattack. Either way, her absence was a relief. The company thrived. The Jaguar account implementation exceeded projections. 3 more major clients signed on. Industry publications started calling Price Industries a phoenix rising from the ashes and citing Daniela as the architect of the transformation. At Thanksgiving, Justin invited her to the family dinner. She almost declined. The thought of sitting through a meal with Victoria was exhausting, but he insisted. Time to establish new family dynamics, you and me, together, unambiguous. The dinner was exactly as awkward as anticipated. Victoria was icily polite, Richard Sr. was warmly welcoming, and Justin was unwavering in his public affection for Daniela. He held her hand at the table, introduced her as his partner without qualification, and shut down every one of his mother's passive-aggressive comments with firm, calm boundaries. Mother, Daniela is family now. If you can't accept that, you're welcome to leave. Victoria stayed, but her displeasure was palpable. After dinner, Richard Sr. pulled Daniela aside. "You're good for him. He's finally becoming the man I always hoped he'd be. He's becoming the man he always was. He just needed to find the courage to show it. Whatever the cause, I'm grateful. Welcome to the family, Daniela, for real this time." Early December brought the final transformation. Justin appeared at her office one Wednesday afternoon, unusual nervousness evident. "I need to show you something." He drove them to a neighborhood near Volunteer Park. Beautiful historic homes, tree-lined streets, the kind of area Daniela had always loved but thought was beyond her reach. "Where are we going?" "You'll see." He pulled up to a gorgeous craftsman house, perfectly maintained with a wraparound porch and garden. "Justin, before you panic, just come inside." The interior was stunning. Original woodwork, updated kitchen, home office spaces perfect for two high-powered executives who needed to work from home occasionally. And in the backyard, a studio space that could easily be converted to whatever she wanted: yoga room, art studio, private sanctuary. "What is this?" she asked. "Ours, potentially, if you want it." He took her hand. "I know you said you needed to think about moving in together, so I started looking for a place that would be ours, not mine with you added in. A fresh start, equal ownership, equal say in how we set it up, equal everything. You bought a house? I made an offer contingent on your approval. If you hate it, we'll keep looking. If you love it but aren't ready, I'll wait. But Daniela, I want to build a life with you, a real life, in a space that belongs to both of us." She walked through the house again, imagining their life here. Morning coffee on that porch, working in the home offices when the commute seemed too much, dinner parties with Jordan and Marcus, a future that felt real and possible and terrifying and perfect. "It's beautiful," she said finally. "Is that a yes?" "It's a, I want to, but I'm scared." "What are you scared of?" "That this is too good, that something will go wrong, that we're moving too fast and I'll lose everything again." Justin pulled her close. "Or we're moving at exactly the right pace for people who already wasted 3 years. Daniela, I can't promise nothing will go wrong, but I can promise I'll be beside you when it does. I can promise I'll fight for us every single day. And I can promise that loving you is the surest thing I've ever known." She looked up at him, this man who'd broken her heart and spent months earning it back. "Okay," she said. "Okay? Okay. Let's buy the house. Let's build a life together. Let's do this properly this time." His smile was incandescent. "Really? Really. But Justin, if you hurt me again—" "I won't. I swear on everything I have, I won't." He kissed her there in their potential living room, sealing the promise with certainty and hope.